Welcome, everybody. It's another CHRISTalk. I'm Minister Eric Allen, and tonight we are going to be discussing success, all right? And we're calling tonight's theme Young, Gifted, and Blessed. That's right, Young, Gifted, and Blessed. And I have with me some young, gifted, and blessed people to delve into this conversation with on tonight. To my left, I have Justin Penman, who is a young entrepreneur. I have Monique Duncan-Harris, who is an educator. And to my right, I have Demnlus Johnson, who is a former council member of Richmond, California, and he'll delve into some of the other things that he's doing now a little later. And we have hairstylist and salon owner Carolyn Wright. And on my far right, I have Earvie Rollins Jr., who is a pilot and a musician, and who also does work with a funeral home. So we've got some great people here with us on tonight, and we're going to have a great conversation. How you guys doing on this night?
Good.
Well, it's late in the evening. Sun has went down.
All right. Well, great. So we're talking about being young, gifted, and blessed. And the Bible says, delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. And we know that, and we understand that to mean not that he'll give us what we want necessarily, but he will begin to place the things that we should want in our hearts that he desires for us. All right, amen. And I would like to start with Demnlus, actually, and talk about your time as a council member, and then delve into a little bit of what you're doing now.
So I was elected to the Richmond City Council in 2018, served a 4-year term, learned a lot, hope I did a lot. Now I'm currently working as the California Policy and Government Relations Manager for Jumpstart for Young Children. And as I always tell folks, that's just a really long title for education advocate, working at the state level to bring more resources to early education and daycare, so that way we can increase literacy for 0 to 3-year-olds.
Amen. And when we say attain resources, we talking about money. He gets money for the children. All right, amen. All right, Carolyn, you're a hairstylist and salon owner, correct?
So I am a hairstylist, but I am not a salon owner. So I just want to clarify that right now.
We claiming it.
We are
It's
claiming
already on
it.
the
I
way.
would love to own
It's
the
on the
property.
way.
It's in a great location, and I work for some great people. It's a very diverse salon, and it's the only salon I've worked at since getting my license in 2018. But yes, I am a salon stylist, and I do have my own business with extensions. So I do have my own hair line, selling raw extensions and making custom wig units. So
Okay. She's a businesswoman.
correct.
All right. All right. And then Justin, you are an entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about what that is you do.
So I own an insurance agency. I'm in the process of selling it right now, but I do insurance, and I'm fully licensed in all lines of business, and I also own an agency that is also licensed in all these types of businesses as well. So.
All right. So, and when you sell that business, there are other businesses you will likely venture into?
Well, I'm actually going to work for the person who I'm selling it to, and we're going to be running an agency together, just because things are kind of crazy in 2023. But yeah, I own an agency, and at the end of this month, it should all be finalized and whatnot into a new one.
All right. And Monique, as an educator, what is it, tell us what you teach for one, because it's impressive to me because I'm not good at it. But share with everybody what you do.
I teach math. I've been a credential math teacher for 13 years.
She's been teaching math for 13 years. I can't even get through a semester of math, okay? So this is somebody I would always look to when it comes to like getting those numbers right, because that's just not something that I'm good at. But we're talking about success, being young, gifted, and blessed. I think that is really what it is. You can be young and you can be gifted, but to be blessed is where it's really going to make the difference in your life. And so what I want to do is talk about what it means to be young, gifted, and blessed, meaning how do we define success? Who would like to answer that question for me?
Why is everybody looking at me? Okay, well,
Because
I
you always
think
got something to say.
No, well, I think that success is measured by the end result, and I think there will never be an end result. If there's an end result, that means you're not living anymore. Yeah, that's the way I measure success. I mean, there's no ending to it, and it's knowing about where you come from to get to where you're currently at.
Okay. All right. So there is no, to measure success is impossible, is what you're saying?
Exactly, yeah.
All right. Does anybody else have another take on that?
I think success is first personal, and I think it's about mastering one skill that is either something you find peace or happiness in. So I just think it's very large, like you said, and it's never ending because, we change and evolve over time.
All right. All right. I like that. And then anybody else would like to answer that?
I feel like it depends on the business or what it is that you do. If you're a property manager, it might be how many apartment or condo associations you manage. If you own an agency, it could be the written premium you write every year. And I feel like it really does depend on the business or what it is that you do.
So it's the context that makes
Context,
the
it's
difference in
different for
the success.
everyone.
Right. All right. And then, so what isn't success? I think sometimes we get so caught up in one thing being success. What would we say isn't success?
I would say materialistic things. People think that first thing is, you done made it out, and then, you buy your first car, your first piece of jewelry or whatever. People say, oh man, you successful now. You can buy that same stuff without being successful. You could have got the money or the funds to do that illegally or legally. So what isn't success in my mind is materialistic stuff,
All right. No, that's exactly what I was hoping somebody would say. So thank you for saying that, because, what profits a man to gain the whole world and then lose his soul? So it's not about the things that we have that makes us successful, but it's about the value that we may put into the world, into our community, into our family, that is going to determine what success may be. Does anybody else define your success for you?
That's what I was going to say, kind of piggybacking off of what Carolyn said, that it's personal. So what it's not is not measured by what somebody else says it is, but what you feel when you feel you've accomplished something. That's success.
Exactly. All right.
And you can have daily success. So depending on where you start from, like if you're battling with something, whatever, that is either mentally or that you're struggling with the day before and you are able to proceed the next day and fulfill that is a little measure of success. So you have to congratulate yourself on things like that too, to, have a more gratitude and broader spectrum of success, because it's like levels to it.
Right. No, I love that. There are levels to success, and it's not all about what we attain, but it may even be what we learn. It may be what we put out that is actually where we will place the value, as opposed to what we can get and what belongs to us and things of that nature. So success is going to be different for everybody. Success is sometimes it seems unattainable because maybe we have too high of a standard when it comes to what we think success should be. I remember growing up, it was always on my father's side of the family, it was always go out there, go to school, and get you a good government job. If you do that, then you have succeeded. You have done what you are supposed to do, and you're going to be good. I actually just I spoke with an actor, a female actor, just recently, and even in the industry of Hollywood or whatever, not to get a long-running series would be a good government job in that arena, right? So these are the things that people, when they see you doing something like that, they say, oh, they've arrived. They've gotten somewhere. Or if you have letters in front of your name, nobody in here has letters in front of their name, do they?
I do EARVIE.
I said in front of your name. All right, but with that being said, Earvie, how old are you?
Just made 30 March 9th. Put my Cash App on the thing. I'm just joking. Yeah, March 9th, 30.
And you're a pilot. How long have you been piloting?
Since 2016. 2016, yeah.
All right. I remember when Earvie first told us that he was going to go to pilot school, and it was just like, oh, that's very interesting. You're so young. What made you want to do that? And he went out there and did it. But I've actually, and this is what I'm going to say about Earvie, everything that he has set out to do, he has done. I remember when Earvie could not play an instrument, and he started taking lessons. And next thing you know, he was working with our band. And then he says, I'm going to become a pilot. And it took him a little while because it's a process, right? But then next thing you know, now he is flying here, there, and everywhere and trying to charge me a fee if I want to get on the flight.
Nothing ain't free. That's how I eat. Now, as you can see, I've been eating.
Well, it says a man that doesn't work doesn't eat. As long as you get them other jobs done, you know, you can take me somewhere for free, okay? No. I want a free flight.
He wants some buddy passes, yeah. Yeah. If this was the Oprah show, I'll say, you get a buddy pass, you get a buddy pass.
All right. No,
But
seriously.
I'm sorry,
Go
Minister,
ahead.
Eric, you touched on something that I think is very important not to skip over. And that's when you mentioned that for a long time, a lot of the elders on your father's side mentioned that being successful was tied to getting a good government job. I think it's very important to highlight that, especially for black people, success has been tied to survival.
Right.
And so when we think about the survival of black folks, that means staying out of prison. That means, you know, having some type of gainful employment where you can take care of your family, being a member of a good church, some type of fraternal organization, whether it be, you know, a sorority or the Masons or the Eastern Stars. That was typically how our elders measured success, because for them, that means that they were on track to keeping a life, right? That means that they wouldn't be caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. But then there was no real way to even measure that kind of success, right? Because that young man that was on that elevator in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that accidentally bumped into that white girl, didn't know that it was going to start the whole massacre. But in the same breath, he thought that he was being successful by getting that job and doing exactly what his parents was telling him to do. I think since affirmative action, we've had the privilege as black people and as young people of color to really claim our own successes. And I'm not saying that in the past our elders and ancestors haven't, because we saw like some dynamic black people, men and women, like break out and do some things that were not of the masses. But I think in today's culture, we are freer. We have more liberties to go after different types of successes and different types of advantages that, may not look like everybody else's. I always say it's different strokes for different folks. Mm-hmm. So that young kid that grew up in the projects, I just saw on Twitter the little girl, she couldn't afford shoes, so she wrapped her feet in tape and wrote Nike on it. So success for her may look like getting a Nike deal or getting some Nike shoes, so I always tell folks it's different for everybody, and it's most definitely based on your upbringing, your environment that you were surrounded by, and the values that were poured into you, and then also the influences that you had over time really help contribute to that personal success that Carolyn was talking about. Right. So it's extremely personal, and I don't think that any one of us. That's why I kind of struggled with your second question. Was like, what isn't successful? Was like, that's hard for me to say, because what's not successful for me may be very successful for somebody else.
Very true.
And I applaud that. Like if you set out a goal and you attack that and you did what you have to do to knock it down, you deserve every bit of applause and kudos that everybody else gets. And I don't want us to walk this tight line of like, we broke out of that, right? Like, it's not just getting a good government job anymore. Right. So let's fully break out of that box. It's whatever, folks want us to, now as long as you ain't hurting nobody. Like, success is not murdering
don't
folks.
hurt anybody.
I'm not saying you're successful if you're just going out there hurting folks doing what you want.
Right.
But what I am saying is, like, as you mentioned, if it's pouring back into the community, if it's having a good impact on things and moving the ball forward, I think that's the general, like, bar of success that I have. Like,
understand that.
the positive impact that you, even if it's just on yourself, if you got a little selfish personal success, that's good. You know, sometimes you got to think about yourself before you can think about other folks. So, you know, I'm
So with that.
you know, I just want us to acknowledge the fact that, yeah, like a lot of time for much of our history in this country, because our history most definitely started before this country, but while in this country, a lot of that success has been tied to us wanting to survive.
Wanting to survive, yeah.
You preaching.
No, it does make total sense, because even for me, like what I do daily fulfills me, right? And because I'm fulfilled, I may not have a mansion on the hill. I may not have the best car, but I've got a car, right? I may not have the designer clothes. I got a couple of clothes though, you know. Just a couple, you know. I've acquired some things along the way, but I am fulfilled, and my bank account sometimes is in dispute with what I want to do. But at the end of the day, I am truly fulfilled with what I do, and I can go to bed at night and rest easy knowing that I am not doing anything to harm anybody, for one, and then that I am not living just for myself. And for me, that is what I see as success. And you know, for Demnlus, it might be some of the things that he has already mentioned. But whatever success is, whatever it may not be for you, may be something great for somebody else. For somebody who did grow up in the projects, somebody who did grow up on the wrong side of the street, I was blessed to also experience another side. So I've lived in a great extreme, on one side of the extreme to the other. And all of that has been a blessing because I can appreciate what I've had, and I can also appreciate what I didn't have when I didn't have it. And we all have our own markers for what it is that we want to do, right? But when we don't attain those markers in our timeline, does that discourage us at all?
Yeah, you know, I was just having the same conversation with a friend a couple of days ago. When I was growing up, like when I was 10, between 10 and 18, we didn't have Instagram. Well, I didn't have Instagram, Twitter, and all that, because that stuff was just now starting to come out at that time. Now I'm 20, I'm not 29, I'm 30 now. Yeah, you know, I gotta used to say that. But now I'm 30 now, and you're talking about this timeline. So, like, we all have these timelines. I believe we want to be here, we want to do this, we want to do this by this time. And then we get on social media, and we see somebody else at the same timeline we're at, and they're doing it. Why we're not doing it? And then we end up getting below. We end up feeling down. We end up feeling defeated. So one day, I literally had to like take a social media fast and get tunnel vision, and said, I am here right now. This is my purpose. And during this tunnel vision, I began to help other people out while passing through the tunnel. You know, so
Right.
and that was real successful for me too. You know, what I mean, that's really what I think success is that you, whatever you have, I should be able to give it to you, and you. You know, whatever I have, I should be able to share. You know, and then it keeps
That's
going.
biblical.
Yeah.
You know, we don't attain just for ourselves. We don't learn just for ourselves. We are supposed to, whatever we're blessed with, share that. Christ said, when you forsake not just the coming together, but taking care of those who are in need, the homeless, the widowed, the orphaned, the imprisoned, the hungry, those who don't have clothing. When we fail to care for those people, we fail to care for Him. And so that should be a part of our success meter, right? What do we do for others? And if we're not doing anything for others, isn't that something we need to be working on? I think so.
And I think when we all have like goal lists and everything like that, so marking them off the list is one thing, but once you obtain the goal, what are you doing after that? What are you doing to, it's not just a checklist that we're trying to mark off, and you know, if it's personal, like once you obtain the goal, what are you doing once you're in the goal? Because like you're living in an answered prayer now, so the prayer is answered. You asked him for it. Now what are you going to do with it? So make it fulfill, like you said, bringing it all together, giving it to other people, you know, sharing it, and just being content. I mean, you know, it's not always good to be content, but living, fulfilling in that answered prayer in that moment, and not trying to worry about what is the next goal next, because I feel like sometimes we get caught up in that too. I already checked off number 2, so what's number 3? So we're not even living in like, or
Basking it a little bit.
yeah, like are we
Yeah.
not even like basking in that and just being thankful in that I asked for that for so long that you're not even worried about or accepting or being, you know, just grateful that I'm living in it now and not even worried about what's next. Like just be here, which is a part of being present as well. And I think that's also being a measure of being in success as well too, because I don't think a lot of people live in present as much as they should, to be able to live in that journey and be grateful of it.
All right.
And
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
well, just to build on that, I was, you know, as Carolyn was talking, it's like we got to blow these timelines up, because I just turned 30 in November as well. So he was like, you got to get used to saying that. But
These young babies.
young OGs. Them timelines, like, we got to blow those up, because I always feel like I used to put timelines on myself, but then I realized that I was high key putting like kind of like testing God to a certain extent. Like, well, I need to have this by the time I'm 25, by the time I'm 30. Underneath that subtext is like, well, God, you need to do this for me by the time I'm 25, by the time I'm 30, and I'm trying to test whether or not like he gonna do it for me or not. And then like you get there and you start questioning everything, and it's like, no, you need to question your timeline and where your timeline came from, whether it's social media, whether it's society. You know, it's different, or different people in your family telling you that you got to be here, or you got to be, you know, you have to achieve certain things by a certain age. You got to question that, not God. And I always tell folks, like, when you put a timeline on yourself to a certain extent, you testing God a little bit, you know, trying to see if he gonna come through, or you know, when you want him to, not when
Gotta
you
preach.
need him
He's
to.
an on-time God.
You might be overestimating yourself. You might like you slick overestimating yourself.
You need
like,
to work a little
I'm
bit.
asking for it, but are you really ready? And sometimes he's testing you. Like, I'm gonna give it to you. Now, are you gonna handle it correctly? And it be getting taken away quicker than you
You're
was
not
even
ready to hold it.
ready.
You know,
You're
your
not
hand's
ready
not
to
even
be-
ready to hold it.
Yeah.
So that's a part of success, though.
The struggle is a part of success. You know, I mean, I'm about to
And
say
the
something.
preparation.
I'm about to be really transparent, and I'm going to go ahead and say it's
Go ahead.
CHRISTalk. When I first, I'll be honest with you. When I first decided I wanted to go to flight school, you know, it was an expensive, it's an expensive program. I told my dad the first time, and he said, you know, you know, I mean, he said more, but he said, and then just kind of brushed it off. So then what I did was I began to do more and more research. I believe when my earthly father said no, my heavenly father said, it's wait, it's not your time yet.
Okay.
Because you
All
got to
right.
change up certain things. If you want this, you got to change up certain things. So then I began to like research, you know, finances, you know, what does a pilot looks like? You know, I began to search my craft. Then I applied again 8 months later. And then they approved me. And 8 is the number of new beginnings, if you don't know, you know.
Oh, I don't.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, but going back into that, at that time, I wasn't ready for it. I just wanted
Right.
to do it because it was easy. It was there. But I knew I had to change some things in my life.
But I think that's about maturity as well, and that's what time affords us, is time to mature in the areas that we need that maturity, right? And so God may say not right now, but he didn't say no, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't say you can't. He just said not right now. And then 8 months later, and that's all it took. 8 months.
It's quick.
It's so quick.
It's
The
really fast.
the older you get, the
fast.
quicker 8 months go by. I'ma promise you that. I remember when I was young, it used to be like a year. Oh, that's forever.
Yeah.
And now a year is
second quarter of
is
2023.
nothing. A year has no significance of time, right?
Yeah.
But it's when we talk about success, we talk about let's talk about the failure that comes with success. What is failure supposed to be a part of success? Do you think failure is setbacks when it comes to our success? How do you guys see failure when it comes to success? Because some people will say that if you're not failing, then there's no success to be had.
Well, I would say sometimes the failure leads you to what you actually are supposed to be doing. When I first went to college, I was majoring in actuarial statistics. You could look at it. I'm not going into what it is, but I took my first statistics class. I was working and and I didn't pass the class. And I asked the teacher for help in class, and he said, if you need to ask questions in class, then you should be coming to office hours. I was embarrassed. Of course, I was the only black student. I was like, okay, well, this clearly isn't for me. And I figured out a new path, which led me to teaching and where I am now. And I'm sure that if I would have passed, I would have kept on that road, making probably 3 times what I am now. But I realized that wasn't where I was supposed to be.
Right.
So if it wasn't for that failure, I wouldn't have what I deem now as my success.
All right. I'm going to say this. None of us can be successful without God, but we can look successful without God, right? And so we just have to be careful that whatever it is that we are doing, that our purpose is connected to the success, that our success is connected to the purpose. And if those two can't be said, then we need to reassess what it is that we're doing. And we are out of time this time, but I thank you all for coming out tonight. This has been an enlightening conversation. I am so happy that you all agreed to have this conversation with me. This is another episode of CHRISTalk. Be bold, be boundless, be blessed.